What was a perfectly normal situation for you in the 80s 90s that the younger generation just can't relate to? I had 20 phone numbers memorized minimum. Sitting by the radio waiting for your favorite new song to come on so you could record it onto a cassette tape. And hoping the jackass DJ didn't talk over the first 45 seconds. Spoiler alert, he always did. Having arguments about factual information and having absolutely no way of determining who is correct. That's actually why the Guinness Book of World Records exists. The managing director of the Guinness Brewery noticed people in pubs were arguing about who was the most this or that, so he decided to compile them all into a book so pubs could have it on hand for reference. I was thinking the other day about how I applied for out-of-state college, 1989, how did I even do that? Did I write to them and ask for an application, then fill it out and mail it back? When I applied to graduate school, 1993, how did I even know which schools had my program? Did I go to the library or something? Sitting here in 2020 imagining doing those things with no internet, it seems impossible. But since I don't even remember how I accomplished it, it must have been pretty mundane at the time. Sounds like a fucking hassle if you ask me. Calling someone's house and having to speak with their parent before talking with them. Nothing like calling a girl you're into and getting her dad on the phone. Or having a girl call the house, then your mom or dad just stands in the doorway making fun of your lame attempts at being cool. Or hearing the phone line getting a little more static sounding and realizing someone else in the house is listening in on the call. Going to a restaurant and being asked would you like to sit in smoking or non-smoking? There were smoking sections on airplanes. I can remember, as a kid of about 6, being super sick with a chest cold. My parents had to work, so my grandpa came to stay with me, and just like Perta Falk in The Princess Bride, he sat by my bed and read me stories, all the while chain smoking. I was coughing my ass off, and he was trying to comfort me while filling my room with smoke. Nobody even thought about it. Shit was weird in olden times. Mom probably gave me some codeine-laced cough syrup when she got home. Going out into the world with no cell, a map in hand, hoping to find the new address you've never been to, and then in addition to that, hoping the people you were going to meet up would get there. If you got there and your friends weren't there, the most you could do was ask the business to lend you their phone or walk to a payphone and call your friends' house phones to see if they picked up. If they didn't, you had no way of knowing if they were late, selling you out, or dead. Going out as a kid from dawn till dusk without your parents being able to contact you or know where you are. Then knowing you have to go home when the street lights come on. We also had to be within shouting distance. Man, could our parents yell. We'd be way off in Timbuktu goofing around and suddenly someone would realize there was the far-off cry of someone's mom echoing in the summer breeze, abruptly ending our fun. Damn it. Someone calling the landline and disconnecting the internet. Being deafened by the sound of the internet. Don't pick up the phone. My Blink-182 song only has 1.5 more hours to download. LimeWire gave me some fucked up versions of songs I still have to this day. Convincing your sibling to get up to change the channel. On the TV with separate dials for VHF, channels 2 to 13, and UHF, channels 14 to 51, that you also needed to whack on the side once in a while to fix the vertical stabilization. Going with your parents to Blockbuster to rent a movie and hoping a copy, VHS tape, was still available and not completely rented out. I remember the local video rental place renting out VCRs along with films because most people didn't have one at home. I was very young at the time and the practice ended shortly after as VCRs became commonplace in every home. Getting a new TV guide each Sunday with the newspaper and obsessing over it for hours, highlighting what shows/movies you wanted to watch. Calling the movie theater to get showtimes. Shopping at Sears. Being on a phone call with someone using the home phone when all of a sudden someone in the house picks up another phone and tells you to get off. Better yet, party line with that one asshole neighbor who keeps their phone off the hook so nobody else can use the damn phone. Hanging out at the high school after school was out with no supervision. I was floored to learn kids can't do that now. I spent hours sitting on the floor in some back hallway with friends, not wanting to go home, doing my homework, waiting for my ride to get out of practice. Oh, yeah? I worked on the school newspaper. After school we had full reign in the graphic arts room, including the dark room, and the screen printing machines. Other kids would come in and make custom t-shirts and develop pictures all the time. I was in a shitty garage band, and we often practiced after school in the band room. I mean, it says band right in the name. No one noticed or cared. Damn, so that wasn't just shit I'd see in the movies. I recently graduated high school and all the kids had to be out by a certain time unless you were in some school program. Edit, we weren't allowed to hang out inside the school after it was over, but hanging out outside on campus was fine, so I got to kind of experience that. My school was actually kind of lenient. Kids, including me, would park in the employee parking lot and skip school right in front of teachers and security guards. Having to put the TV on channel 3 to play video games. Calling collect and saying your message really quickly instead of your name so the other person doesn't have to accept the call. Collect call from
Bob, we are baby, it's a boy.
Parents kicked you out of the house and telling you to be home when the lampposts came on. They had no clue where we were or what we were doing. My brother and I would play on the train tracks and under a bridge. I think about my kids doing the same and it stresses me TF out. Edit to add, Saturday morning cartoons. I'm sad for my kiddos to not have the experience of getting up early to not miss cartoons before getting kicked out of the house for the day. There being nothing on television. I watched the Weather Network for longer than I should when I was younger because it was better than soaps and sometimes nothing was on. With streaming services and even YouTube, shorter videos like TikTok, you can be watching new content 24/7. Little overwhelming. We had a local access channel that was just 3 colored horizontal bars. In the top bar, text told you the time and the temperature. In the bottom bar, text told you the contact info for the cable company. In the middle, you could pay to have a screen of text. The movie theaters listed movie times, restaurants listed the specials, parents would post birthday congratulations for their kids, weirdos would post rambling screeds about the mayor. Sometimes you'd sit through 24 screens before learning that the movie you wanted to see had already started downtown, but you'd know that Donna's granny wished her a happy 13th birthday. Wondering who invented the hot dog and being unable to find out. Not having a camera all the time. Privacy. And if someone took a photo, likely only 7 people would ever see it. They bothered to get it developed. Having to wait or be somewhere you don't want to be, like visiting your mom's friend's house or at the bank with nothing to distract you but your own mind. My parents never bought me a handheld game, nor did she have room in her handbag for my books. So I just had to be in the moment. Dedicating songs on your local radio station. Spending $15 to $20 on a CD, as well as spending entire days combing thrift shops, pawn shops and flea markets looking for CDs and cassettes on the cheap. Having to stop at a gas station and ask for directions and pay attention to what the clerk is saying. Bonus, waiting to call long distance after 9 p.m. because it was free. Then getting very excited when they dropped it to 7 p.m. I feel like kids today will never know boredom like I experienced when I was a kid. We were poor and didn't have any video games. There was no Candy Crush on your phone, no Netflix. If your friends were busy, you just have to make up your own game or watch one of the 5 videos you actually owned for the 347th time. But even that wasn't always possible if your parents/s wanted you out of the house for a while. So you just walk around hoping to run into some kids you knew. I also remember my sister and I would watch MTV, wait for our favorite music video to come on, then record it on VHS. We had 2 tapes full of music videos. I wish I had those tapes now. There were some bangers on it. I didn't get bored. My cousin's best friend and I invented a game called Friends for Life that kept us amused for hours. We'd get the phone book, get a stranger's name and address and call them. We'd say that we were phoning from a charity called Friends for Life, and we find volunteers to befriend friendless people. We'd tell the person we'd called that their GP had referred them to us because he was worried about their mental health as they didn't have any friends. We'd say that we had a volunteer willing to spend an hour a week with them for a cup of tea and a chat, and what day and time would be convenient. The person we'd called would get angry and offended and insist that they did have friends and they didn't need our services. We'd say, please, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. We deal with friendless people every day. They'd usually angrily hang up on us, so we'd then get their address from the phone book and send them a follow-up letter, saying our volunteer was coming round for a cup of tea on a particular date and time. We even had some headed paper printed up with a logo and motto we invented. The logo was 2 hands holding each other and the motto was, Friends for Life, befriending the friendless. My friend's dad had a P.O. box and he said we could use it, so we put the P.O. box number as the return address. We got some angry letters back. The final person we called, an old man, actually sounded pleased and said he'd like us to find him a friend. This was something we hadn't prepared for and we didn't know what to say, so we hung up and never played Friends for Life again. This is more 90s early noughties, but the ability to just not be reached sometimes? And that was okay? It stresses me out that there's this social pressure to be available at all times, and people get upset with you if you don't respond to a text fast enough, etc. But as a kid we'd call each other on the home phone sometimes, and if you didn't pick up it was just assumed you were busy and nobody was actually upset with you over it. Obviously I love being able to keep in contact with friends on a more regular basis, but the constant pressure to be accessible to people 24/7 or you're some kind of bad friend is too much, and it really does a number on my anxiety. I miss being able to call/text/message someone back at my leisure and not have to have a good enough explanation ready as to why I was ignoring that person. Not mine but my sister. You have a collect call from Mom at the movies, pick me up at 5 please, would you like to accept the charges?
Bob, we are baby, it's a boy.
Standing in line with quarters in hand to play a video game. And you had to place your quarter/token on the machine to be in line. I played a lot of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat as a young kid, and it's pretty surprising how well that system worked. You'd think kids would be shitty and steal coins or cut in line, but I don't really remember that happening even once, despite it usually being unrelated random kids all around the machine. Writing and receiving letters by post. Calling your BF or GF house and hoping that they pick up instead of their parents. Then when the parents or a sibling answers and you hear them shout to who you want, there's a boy/girl on the phone for you. I grew up in a very rural part of Ontario, Canada. Since there were so few households in the area, it was not profitable for the telephone company to give each home a private line. Instead, our community had a party line. Every household was on the same telephone line and you could pick up the phone receiver and hear Betty from down the road having a conversation with her sister. You would have to ask to have the line and you would have to listen for the click to know if Betty left or if she was still listening to your conversation. I remember more than once asking in the middle of my conversation, "Betty, can you please leave?" and having her respond, "Oops, sorry," and then hang up her phone. Video games had no DLC and you unlocked everything through mere grinding. Good times. No saves. I would always get super far in Mega Man, but I could never beat it before I had to go to bed. Pause. Leave Nintendo on all night. Wake up and pray the system didn't freeze. Pause again. Leave on all day while at school. Repeat prayers when I got home. I was born in the mid-70s and have my clearest childhood memories during the 80s, graduated HS and college in the 90s. Here are a few of my favorites. 1. Requiring a landline to talk on the phone, even pre-cordless landline phones. Think long-ass coil cords to take the phone to your bedroom for a private conversation. 2. Downloading files, online gaming, or faxing to be disconnected cause mom decided to make a call. 3. Using a paper map to go places or relying on dubious directions like turn left at the second or third light, I can't remember which. 4. Going to a theater to see movie trailers. Like they didn't even show them on TV. 5. 4 local TV channels that could only be tuned via antenna. 6. A 24:3 ratio TV being considered large. 7. Getting pissed that there wasn't any leaded gasoline available and you need to use that shitty unleaded crap. 8. Arguing the virtues of seat belts and motorcycle helmets. Also, cars still on the road that didn't have seat belts. 9. Smoking sections on airplanes being a new thing that people were pissed about. Used to be you could smoke anywhere on the plane. 10. Smoking literally everywhere. Restaurants being hazy with smoke. 11. Needing an encyclopedia set to verify facts. 12. Phones only being used for voice communication. 13. Cell phones costing hundreds of dollars per month. Making a mistake and falling asleep talking to your so on your cell phone and getting an $800 plus bill for the month. 14. Cell phones weighed in pounds. Think 2 pounds strapped to your belt. 15. Hardwired cell phones in your car so you didn't need to haul a heavy-ass phone around with a crappy antenna. If you knew a real estate agent in the 80s they probably had one. My mom did. 16. Needing a pager and a cell phone for work. Page to make sure someone is available so you didn't waste your minutes. 17. Minutes being something you regularly budgeted for and managed. 18. Russia being the bad guys and fear of nuclear war being a regular topic of conversation. 19. The world seeming a lot more mysterious and interesting. I can't overstress this. 20. Hanging out in music stores looking for hidden gems and picking up girls. To name a few. Snow days. The school didn't text or email you, no one called. What did you do? Sat there watching the news with basically a stock ticker going across the bottom, and if you missed your school, oh well, time to spend another 20 minutes or take the trip and see if the doors are open. This was made worse because some schools, like mine, would wait until the last possible minute, meaning you could be at the bus stop waiting because the call was made 5 minutes before the buses start their route. If you were lucky, someone's parent would drive by to say there was a delay. Other times you basically stood there for 20 minutes, in the snow, before deciding it had to be delayed. But wait, the bus could just be slow, which also wasn't unheard of. Now 45 minutes late, everyone is convinced it must be a delay. So you go home and yes, X school has a 2-hour delay, and the process may repeat because they wouldn't cancel until the last minute, so it is entirely possible that you had to spend 2 hours in the snow waiting just for the good news. Relying on the woods to provide your porn.